and what you do for cats, for those who love them.
Of course, you're right. We're part of the Mars organization, so the consumer goods company behind a lot of brands that I think all of us hopefully know and love. Mars bars, Snickers, M&Ms, all of that fun confectionery stuff. But Mars also has a massive pet care business, and Sheba is one of our leading cat food brands within that portfolio, a very premium brand and a brand that's committed to sustainability. Hence why we're here talking about coral reefs today.
All right, so let's get straight into it. Like, it's a cat brand, so I'd kind of assume that, if you were doing a charitable project, it'd be somehow related to cats, right? We know there's a lot of homeless cats out there, but tell us how it kind of ties into kind of coral reef restoration. Like,
Yeah,
what
how
is
that
the
initiative kind of got started.
what is the linkage there? Because I'm obviously not clever enough to work that out.
It's not super obvious, but hopefully it makes sense after I take you through it. So, I mean, Sheba as a brand exists to give cats what they love. We believe that kind of resistance is futile when it comes to cats. They rule our world. And what do cats love? Cats love fish. It's one of their favorite proteins that they love to eat. It's something that obviously is an imagery that people have known to associate cats and fish. And unfortunately, fishes and marine life's homes are in danger. The ocean is under threat. Specifically, if you look at one of the most important ecosystems in the ocean, coral reefs, if we don't do anything, scientists estimate that 90% of our coral reefs will be dead by the year 2050, which is scarily not too far away. And so to build on top of the work that Sheba's been doing for many, many years on fish sustainability and making sure that we're sourcing our ingredients in a responsible way, we decided to go one step further and say, hey, let's proactively also rebuild ocean health ecosystems. And that starts with the coral reefs.
I love that. Well, it's also nice to consider that, so not only is there a pretty direct connection to not only, cats, but then also, so many other types of animals that would, rely on fish as a food source. But then also the cool thing about restoration of the coral reefs is you also have essentially this massive opportunity. If you can try to help solve that problem, that is essentially something that's going to affect so many other elements of the environment. So I can see why that was the decision and how you guys got there.
100%. I mean, the analogy we like to make is that coral reefs are the rainforests of our oceans. And I think everyone understands the importance of the rainforests on land. And that's what the coral reefs do for the ocean. So if you don't have healthy coral reefs, your oceans are going to die in order to the planet for a reason.
Tell us a little bit more about the kind of history. This has been an ongoing campaign for a while, right? Before you've kind of decided to get the Web3 communities involved. So tell us a bit about the kind of history of this, and actually educate us. Like, I'm here to learn. I don't know anything about the coral reef, in all honesty. So whatever kind of wisdom you can impart on us will be massively appreciated. We're always talking about gaming, technology, tokenomics, and all that stuff, but sometimes it's important to kind of take a step back and reflect on the world we live in, right? Sometimes when, I've got sometimes when things are really bothering me, day-to-day things, I just look up in the sky and think, wow, there's like all these stars out there, like we're in a really small, I don't know what was, this small galaxy. This universe is huge, and I wonder, the visible eye can only see so much of the universe, and the most powerful telescopes can only see much of the universe, and there's so much we don't know. It's almost like we're a ball suspended in air, and our ball is like one speck of sand if you gathered all the sand up in the whole world. So it's like, we are often really kind of focused on our day-to-day lives as individuals, but there's so much more out there. So I want to learn.
Well, one other thing to just kind of to dovetail on that as well, Sam, it's really easy for us, when we go down the rabbit hole on gaming, technology, all the things that we enjoy, I think it's easy to sort of oftentimes forget that all of this is only possible so long as we have a planet that we can live on. I'm super curious to hear your thoughts on how the Web3 communities can get a little more involved in sustainability and things like that. I know it's certainly close to my heart, so please take it away.
Of course. Thank you. And I completely agree. Some of that perspective is definitely necessary at times. So Why don't I kind of answer your first question first, which is a bit about the backstory of this. This is not a new project that is only starting with Web3. We see a ton of potential in Web3 to help us scale it and take us to that next level of impact. But Mars actually started restoring coral reefs and got into this world about 15 years ago. So we've been at it as a company for a while. And kind of where we got into it without going too off tangent here is we're a family-owned business at Mars. So that's something a lot of people don't know, and that gives us freedom to operate versus other major corporations. And the family is very sustainably minded. And so we were out in Indonesia working with local communities as it related to cocoa sustainability and cocoa supply chains. And we heard something unexpected, and that was that it was actually a decline of fish that was causing also a lot of problems for the community. And the reason that those fish supplies, so local fishing villages, small island communities, was because the coral reefs were dying. And so obviously the fish's habitat dies, there's no more fish to be able to support the local economies. And that's where we kind of got to work developing a method for restoration that was community led. So we work with local communities, involve them at every step in the coral reef restoration process, and it really fuels that restoration at an ecosystem level. And so fast forward a decade or so, Sheba decided to hop on board to really start to scale this with the power of our global brand. We launched a campaign May 2021, so almost a year and a half ago now, that was called Hope Grows. The reason for that is that we feel like there needs to be a little bit of hope in this climate story that we're telling. Yes, there's a lot of doom and gloom, but there's also solutions on the table if we get together and help get behind them. So the methodology that we have, the technology we have to restore those coral reefs, we use that to plant Hope Reef. It's actually a reef in Indonesia that literally spells the letters HOPE that can be seen from space. You can look at satellite imagery and you can read the word hope spelled out of coral on the ocean floor. And that was our signal to the world of our 10-year commitment towards coral reef restoration.
That's amazing. I feel like I just want to kind of comment on your guys' kind of thesis as far as the positioning there. Not only is it, a good, helps with marketing, but also I could not agree more with that sentiment that, yeah, obviously when it comes to climate, there's so much doom and gloom, and it's almost kind of, I don't know how I would call it. I suppose par for the course that, that when talking about climate change and just the realities that the planet's going through, like it's a downer, right? It can be very, very depressing very quickly. I think it's really important that there is some hope component to this, because ultimately I really believe that, human ingenuity and frankly, just, people's better kind of aspirations and abilities will play out over time. And, these are difficult problems and difficult challenges, but they're also solvable. And I think that it takes that sort of mindset in order to solve difficult monumental tasks. So I think that's freaking awesome that you can see this coral reef from space. That's wicked. That's really wicked.
Yeah, it was quite a feat, as you can imagine, of engineering to get this thing created. But you can see it from space, and if anyone's following along here, you can actually also, it's a landmark on Google Maps. So that was part of the first campaign we launched, is you can actually type in Hope Reef into Google Maps, and it's an actual place, and you can use the little Street View man to drop into it and swim around underwater and see what it looks like for yourself.
Amazing.
Yeah, and then I think kind of how the story goes is then why Web3 is the question that you also asked. And the reason being is quite simple. I mean, when we launched this thing last year, we had an outpouring of support on our traditional social media channels from different communities that we were working with, and everyone received it so positively to the point where we were getting asked, how can I get involved? How can I donate? How can I have kind of an individual impact and get involved in a greater scale in what you're doing, which was fantastic. But we didn't really quite have a way that we could harness that energy and we could invite people in to be part of that personal journey in a meaningful way. And when I personally started learning about the Web3 space, back in January of this year, and the rest of the team did, it really felt like the obvious next step for us from a community building perspective, but also just thinking about how we could revolutionize the use of this tech to power a different form of charitable giving, a form that people can have ownership over that impact that they're having. They can see the transparency kind of the funds that are being raised, and then they can surround themselves with like-minded people who are all after that same mission, and have some decision-making power about what the collective can do.
That's beautiful. I mean, when you think about what lately, and certainly here with the team, and I know I see a lot of our other kind of more extended team members here as well. 6967. You and I were just talking about this the other night. Good to see you, buddy. Good to see you, Aches, and everybody else in here. Love you all. But one of the things that I think is really interesting when you think about Web3 fundamentals or the kind of core tenets of something being a Web3 driven project, there's certain things that pop up, and it's easy again for us to lean on the things that we always talk about, whether it's gaming or digital ownership or whatnot. But there's something that, obviously really, really profound about the community driven initiatives, right? The ambitions of a crew or a community together coming up with something and doing something together that everybody feels like they have some ownership in. And on top of that, obviously, when it comes to the actual mechanisms around fundraising, that's something that Web3 and blockchain tech does facilitate, and facilitates quite well in many regards. So to see an initiative like this that has this charitable component, or just essentially like an initiative that is targeted at just making the world a better place and trying to actually do some good in the world, and the fact that everybody gets to participate in that, I think is pretty amazing, and also really inspiring. It kind of gives me hope for what we could start to see with future projects, maybe on a grander scale.
Yeah, and I think the transparency that blockchain provides is also interesting, because it depends, because a lot of people have the skepticisms of charitable organizations, like where do the funds actually go?
Yeah.
And we've all heard horror stories of some of these big charities, like literally 1 to 10% actually goes to the individuals who need it, because the others are kind of wrapped up in whatever salaries, marketing, campaigns, etc., etc. So it's like, it's interesting to see how blockchain will start to kind of break that whole thing apart a little bit and be kind of disruptive to that industry as well. What are your kind of thoughts on that? And what's we know this space is like, there's a lot of degens in this space who are really motivated primarily in many ways, just like most human beings are, by making money or profit. So how have you found the journey so far, being a 100% charitable project where, there's you're not likely going to actually, as an NFT investor, actually get any return from this, I'm guessing. So how does that kind of work, and then how does that kind of fit in with secondary royalties? Will there be some? Will they not? Just give us a bit more info on this. Genuinely interested.
Yeah, of course. So I think it's something that we're really proud of, that 100% of the proceeds of the sale of these NFTs are going to go towards coral restoration, right? And that's something that's empowered by the fact that this is coming from a brand that is invested and committed to this being their purpose for the next decade plus. And we have the privilege of being able to think long term like that, and develop programs like this that can enable that sort of giving at that sort of scale. So I think with people getting into it, I mean, you could just go on any other website and adopt a coral for $50 to $100 and feel good about that being the donation that you made. Don't necessarily get a lot of a return out of that other than the feel good factor. We're trying to come in and step one, add a little bit of excitement to that process, add the value of community, add some community perks in there that are really surrounded around ocean experiences and education, add a gamified kind of digital collectible art side of it, so there's an actual asset that you can own that's linked to the physical world, and we can talk about that later. So I think number one, what we're trying to do is say, not only do 100% of the proceeds go towards the cause that you're looking to support, which hopefully is new news for people, not only do you get some benefits associated with that, whether that's the art experience or the community or the perks, but also we will have those secondary sales available. So not at the very beginning. It's on our roadmap to launch a secondary marketplace where people can buy and trade these collectibles. And that'll be a really fun process, I think, because the art themselves, it's dynamic. So your virtual reef is going to grow. You don't know how that's going to grow when you first get it. There'll be different stages. There's gamification there. You might want to trade with someone who had, let's say, you got a turtle and you wanted a stingray. You're going to be able to go on that marketplace and look for the reef that you want with the corals you want and the marine life you want. So will it be the same volume of trading and flipping and that sort of thing that we see with other projects? Probably not. But will there be a secondary kind of marketplace component of it? 100%. Because A, we think people want to do that, and B, it does provide those royalties that, again, 100% of the royalties will go back to funding the restoration.
Love that. It's interesting too. One of the things that I think is really fun to kind of think about as well is just like you had mentioned, frankly, just like a little bit of gamification, right? Big believer that gamification and game layers being built into products and projects are really, really strong drivers of human behavior when deployed correctly. So to see it deployed around something where you get positive human behavior, I think is, it's exciting. It kind of inspires hope. So that's really cool. I'm curious, were there any major takeaways or learnings that you took from at least the early deployment of the project, and anything that you guys were surprised by that you're able to kind of take away and think about, how you could maybe reuse in the future?
Yeah, I think there's probably two things that immediately come to mind. The first I've already kind of talked about, which is just the origin story of this. The fact that we were very positively surprised by the energy we were feeling from the public to get involved, right? And that's what obviously gave us kind of the whole idea and kind of the ambition to go to create a community like this powered by NFTs. So I think we're just trying to harness that in as many ways possible and understand that a mutual love for oceans and for our planet comes from very diverse places. And that's how we're building our community, right? It can come from people who have a gaming and technology background. It could come from people who are actually part of these local communities. It can come from science-led communities. It can come from governments, from corporations. And just that mutual connector of wanting to help our oceans is a really powerful thing. So it's something that we're definitely tapping into and approaching the launch of this, trying to be as diverse as possible in our outreach of building this community. So that's the first one. And I think the second one is also just the amount of work that there is to be done. I mean, it sounds perhaps obvious from a learning perspective, but the more we've grown this project, it started in Indonesia. We're now live in Australia and a few sites, including the Great Barrier Reef. We're in the Maldives. We're in Mexico. We're building kind of scouting places in Hawaii and Kenya. There's so much work to be done that's all equally important. And it's not all underwater either. There's kind of above water work in terms of training local community members, funding research, funding science. And we're taking that, I guess, scale of opportunity to invest in to the community and saying, we can't make all of these decisions alone. We need people who are equally passionate about this to help us on that journey to not only raise the funds, but also decide how we're going to spend them.
Copy that. And it's interesting to just consider how much, work there is to be done here. So glad to see people like you are kind of trending that, or setting that trend in motion and trying to get these things started. And I am kind of curious to know, how do you see the future of this rolling out? What do you see? Because there is so much work to be done. What could you ask of our community, and how can we be supportive of these sorts of ventures?
Yeah, and I kind of feel like we've done you a bit of a disservice here because I've stupidly forgot to click the record button. So
no.
I'm gonna have to make it up to you somehow. So in order to do that, I'd like to connect you to other projects that we're close to. Maybe we could set up another space with a few different projects who definitely want to kind of push great agendas like this. So leave that one with me. But yeah, how else could we potentially be of help or service to you?
Oh, I appreciate that. Honestly, it means a lot. This is an amazing start, right? Having us on here, kind of inviting your incredible community to hear our story and help get the word out. That's the biggest thing right now, right? We're doing this very organically. We're not we're approaching this community led. We're approaching this organically. We're not throwing all this paid media at it, which is how kind of typical brands would approach things. So just community helping us spread the word, telling people about the problem that we're trying to solve and how we're trying to do it, and kind of staying tuned to our mint date. We're going to be launching these things very, very soon. So giving us a follow on Twitter, hopping into our Discord, and helping us grow this community so that when we do put these NFTs on sale, we're good to go.
All right, so what we would really appreciate if you give us a real kind of breakdown of what really kind of happens next. And shout out Tara Naomi.
What up, Tara?
Just joined. Everybody's got blue tick now, so we need to invest this $8 and get ourselves.
Yeah, we need to get verified.
But Tara Naomi is a great friend of ours from a project called Warp Sound. So they could potentially. Don't know, Tara. You up for hosting Sheba as well? I'll invite you to speak. But we do have a network, and I'd love to definitely share that with you so we can get this message out. And my bad for not recording this. But yeah, Tara, are you happy to host Sheba too?
Hi there. Hi, everybody. Yeah, I'm also the Web3 lead at X Prize, and we have a whole Coral department there. Not a department, it's a vertical that we're working on. And definitely want to connect. I just actually stumbled upon this space and learning about Sheba for the first time, and texted one of the folks that I'm working on a project with over at X Prize, and I'm like, okay, we should link up with these folks, and they already know about you all. So I think, yeah. So it's great synchronicity here. How's everybody doing?
Good. I love how small the coral world can be. That's really cool. So let's definitely connect. I'd love to talk to your team.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
All
right. So yeah, give us a breakdown on what happens next and how people can get involved, what to expect, what not to expect, and I'm guessing this isn't going to be a pressured mint where you've got. Where you're expecting like an instant sellout kind of situation. This is a completely different kind of project, which is a feeling that I'm getting, which I really kind of welcome right now because in this space it's become a thing that if you have a mint, you have to like sell out in record time or it's not relevant anymore. People lose trust in you or forget about you. But
yeah,
it's very hype driven, but that's not how this space should be. And so tell us a bit about your kind of approach to this, please.
Music to my ears. Thank you for saying that. Yes, I mean, would we love to sell a lot of these at mint, 100%, but if it doesn't sell out instantaneously, that does not mean that we're not successful. So what's happening? We are building on Flow as a blockchain. Super excited about that. Great partners with the team at Dapper Labs, very environmentally friendly, which aligns with our project, as well as kind of easy to access from non-Web3 people. I know that's less relevant for this group here, but I think it's important to play our part so that we can make this as accessible as possible to get more and more people onboarded into the space. So we will be announcing our mint date in the next couple of days. Follow us on Twitter, hop into our Discord. That's where you're going to hear about it first. On Flow, price will be 50 USD. And then obviously whatever that equates to in Flow tokens at the time. Mint will be via our website. You can play with a credit card or you can play with Flow tokens, which should make it very accessible for all. And yeah, the date will come soon. It'll be this month. So
all right. Amazing. Well, we've still got some time. I want to learn more about the ocean. What else can you teach us about the ocean?
What else can I teach you about?
Are there any like quick facts so like in future I can act like I know things and be clever and say there is so much there's this many endangered species in the water, or if you kind of put all the water into a container, it'd weigh X amount. Like any kind of quick facts for me to
any quick random facts about
the ocean to make me feel like I'm intelligent.
Well, I can tell you that 25% of all marine life relies on coral reefs for survival. Wow, I can't talk. So that's, I don't know, I was amazed by that when I first heard it.
Yeah, it's pretty insane.
Over 1 billion people rely directly on coral reefs for their livelihood. So that's also pretty insane in terms of the importance, I guess you could say, of coral reefs. Mars, I have to do a bit of a plug on Sheba here. Mars so far has restored over 80,000 square meters of coral reefs across the globe. And we're just getting going. So that's, I guess, another one. And then how many, I'm going to do a quiz. How many species do you think that coral reefs support?
I'm going to just go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say, all right, species in total, I'm going to go 30 million.
30 million. Wow.
I'm a little over. All right, I realize I'm
shooting, not that far over, but
shooting heavily from the hip there.
I almost said a billion at first. I thought a billion. I was like, wait a minute, that's a massive number.
That's a lot of biodiversity.
Yeah.
So between 1 and 9 million.
Okay,
and
all right.
That spread just tells you how little we know about our oceans, because we actually only know less than 100,000 of those species. So there's just, it's mind-boggling about how much we know more about space than we know about our oceans.
And that blows my mind, right? When you think about it, the fact that this is here and this is something that we all rely on, and we oftentimes just totally undervalue and don't really anticipate or think about how much the ocean or the biodiversity in the ocean affects us. It's all right there for us, though, right? Like, the fact that we know so little about it still is, sort of embarrassing as a species, but also kind of beautiful in my opinion. There's still a lot to learn there. So, and also, big ups to you guys and to Mars too for, 8,000 square meters of restoration is amazing. And, I really hope to see more of these projects coming online as time goes on. I think the world needs it. And I also think Web3 needs it.
Completely agree. I think there's so many more use cases for this technology that we barely scratch the surface of it. And that's just what we're trying to do, right? We're trying to do some good for the world, and we're trying to find ways to use this innovative technology to make a meaningful difference.
And you'd say which countries are you really kind of active in? Which oceans, which parts of the world?
Yeah, Indonesia is the kind of the center of our operations. I would say it's kind of the heart of what we do. But we have big operations in Australia, so on the Great Barrier Reef, which is a huge kind of point of pride for us. I think the Australian government is extremely protective of touching that, which is very, very good. But it just shows the fact that we can operate there. We have close partnerships with the Parks Authority, how successful this technology we use is. And then the Maldives is quickly growing to be one of our big centers. The situation there is obviously dire, very, very low-lying country. I think the majority of the Maldives sits less than 1 meter above sea level, and coral reefs play such an important role for coastal protection that if we don't do something there, then you're literally talking about people's homes going underwater. And that's terrifying and that's scary. So the work there is very much from a fish perspective and a biodiversity perspective, but also from a coastal protection point of view.
So, real quick, a few closing questions here. I am curious to know, Sam, what do you see? What does success look like for you guys? Obviously, a sellout. That's to be kind of assumed. But as far as the actual sort of parameters of the project, because this is a project that has a massive scope, right? There's a lot of work to be done. So, what does success look like for you guys rolling into the future?
Yeah, and what will these funds that you're hoping to gain from an NFT mint what will they contribute to? Because this sounds like a like Wes said, a very large undertaking. Does it give you runway for a month or two, a year? Like, how does this all kind of work?
Yeah, the exciting part for me is that what these funds are spent on is going to be decided by our community. And we mean that. We're going to be putting votes out to say there's this project or there's this project, educate people on both of them and say, which one do we want to go for? And then move on to the next one. And we're going to do that until our funds run out. And then at that point, I'm hoping we'll launch something else to keep that fundraising going, right? This is a very much long-term commitment that has the backing of a major global brand and a major corporation. So what does success look like? Yes, it looks like selling out and having those funds to work with. But it also looks like just having a thriving, active community who is giving their input into how they want to progress this space forward. I would love to see budding marine biologists come out of the works. I would love to see people with technology backgrounds who have new and novel ways about how to use that to monitor our reefs. I would love to see kind of other organizations come out of the work asking how they can support, right? It's about this idea that we can start this, but we can't do this alone. So having that kind of army of advocates and people supporting the cause that are along for the ride and helping shape how we move forward.
That's amazing. And that absolutely amazing. And it also sounds very, very true to the fundamental kind of ideologies of Web3, frankly. The fact that it is community driven and it is kind of this decentralized kind of, I kind of refer to it sort of as the pirate movement, right? Like you can kind of attract all of this different talent to go then target those talents at certain problems. So this is a really exciting project. I'm really stoked to be able to have the opportunity to connect with you on this, and want to support you guys any way that we can, and see if we can get you guys to where you're trying to go.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's some individuals in here that may have questions too. So if you've got any questions, I want to learn more. Please raise your hands. Let's get you up to the stage and get those questions answered. But in the meantime, if there's anything else you kind of want to get out there, please use this platform to do so. Please also definitely give us some copy that we can share within our Discord, and hopefully kind of spread the message far and wide. And we'll definitely kind of help connect you with other communities as well. It's a shame because we've got 36 listeners on here. If this was about a degen space about making money, it'd probably have hundreds on here. So it's a shame that ultimately the way we as humans value things is kind of out of skew in many ways to how we should potentially value things, but there's many reasons for that.
Well, it's tricky with the environment, right? Just because it's easy to overlook oftentimes. It's not until it's right on our doorstep that it suddenly is really, really important or at the front of people's minds. But that said, I'm really optimistic. I'm cautiously optimistic for all of us together to be able to solve problems like this, and I hope that we can kind of utilize this technology in this space to do so. That's one of the reasons why I think that I'm really bullish and really, really want to see more projects like this.
I appreciate that, and yeah, it's hard, right? Doing stuff for good is never as attractive as doing stuff for money. As much as we want to sometimes lie to ourselves, in human nature, there is that aspect. But at the same time, this is what I'm looking at the count. 36 more people that now know about this project that didn't before that. And every little bit helps. These are 36 people that I know are active and passionate about this space. And if you all tell one person who tells another couple people, that's how network effects work. And we believe in what we're doing, right? And it just takes a couple more people every day to get on board. And I know we'll get where we're going. That's quality growth. So it doesn't worry me at all, and just keep spreading the word. That's all I can say is give us a follow, join us, keep spreading the word, and that's the biggest help that you.
There you go, Carrot Gang. Keep spreading the word. No questions have come through as of yet, but that's probably if there are no questions to come through, that's probably a good note to end on. Actually, it is. We all ultimately have a responsibility for not only ourselves and our bodies, but the environment that we live in. And one of the questions, not to get too deep, but one of the questions I constantly ask myself is, I work my ass off 24 hours, 7 days a week, but what good do I actually do? Like, at what point do I actually help somebody else or help the world or help
better? Yeah.
Can I leave this world knowing that I did something to make this place better,
impact.
or to make
to
have impact on somebody's life? And I think that's an important question that, not forcing anyone to ask this, but that's an important question that should always, as humans, be, close to our heart. And being successful in business is definitely important, but actually doing something for the world that we live in is probably of greater importance.
Make the world suck just a little bit less. I think that's a generally good operating system to try to work from.
Bring a little bit of hope to the world.
Absolutely.
Hope grows, right?
Damn right.
Exactly. Hope grows.
Okay, then. Well, thank you very much, and we'll definitely try and help more where we can. I'm really sorry I forgot to press record on this. It doesn't ever give you an option to change that. So Elon Musk, please do something about it. But I'm open to really
unrecord.
I mean, exactly. This is inspiring me to really kind of set up a bit of a mega spaces and get a few
make it happen.
Friendly projects together.
We can commit to that. We can make that happen.
Get yourselves on there. Let's shine some light on what we can do for this world.
Yeah, we can absolutely do that. Any way that we can be of service and we can help you, we're happy to do so.
There you go. All right,
Thank
cool.
you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. And
thank you so much, Sam, Tara. Thank you so much for coming in, guys.
Tara, I need to sort something out for you, so we'll get on that straight away. By the way, just a nice reminder of you being on here.
Absolutely.
All right, thanks all, and thanks for listening in. Until next time, we're definitely going to connect with you again, Sheba. So be ready for the call.
Thanks a lot.